Let's be honest, gentlemen, most men think strength fades after 60 because of age alone, when in reality it's often because the body quietly stops getting what it needs to maintain circulation, nerve signaling, and cellular energy. That misunderstanding matters because in a few minutes, I'm going to show you why one small daily gap creates a cascade most men never connect to their symptoms. I'm Dr. Eva Morgan. I've spent 16 years in clinical practice working with men in this exact stage of life. Calm, capable men who still want strength, clarity, and confidence, but don't want to feel dependent on pills or pushed into extremes. And what I hear most often is not fear, it's confusion. Energy feels lower. Recovery takes longer. Muscle tone softens even with the same routines. Intimacy feels less reliable. Urinary comfort changes. And men assume this is simply what getting older feels like. That assumption is the first problem. Here's what most men miss. Aging itself doesn't shut the system down. Deficiency and signal, aging versus nutrient deficiency disruption do. When the body doesn't receive key nutrients consistently, it adapts by conserving. Blood flow becomes less responsive. Nerves fire less cleanly. Hormone signals lose precision. The man feels it as slowing down, but the body is actually protecting itself. Have you noticed that your motivation is still there, but your output isn't matching it anymore? Does your mind want to move faster than your body responds? That disconnect is important. In clinical practice, we commonly see men who are eating enough calories, but not enough of the specific raw materials the male body relies on after 60. And when those materials fall below a certain threshold, the body doesn't send an alarm. It simply recalibrates downward. That's why this feels gradual, quiet, private. Research suggests that after midlife absorption changes, the gut becomes less efficient. The kidneys regulate differently. Cellular uptake slows. So even if you're eating fine, you may not be supplying the tissues that govern strength, circulation, and vitality the way you did at 40. This is the hidden crisis in older men where frustration starts. Men push harder, more workouts, more caffeine, less rest, and the system tightens instead of opening. When pressure goes up, flow goes down. That's basic physiology. I want to normalize something here. Nothing you're experiencing means your body is broken. It means it's responding logically to missing inputs. And that's good news because inputs are adjustable. In a moment, you'll see why one category of nutrients directly affects blood vessel tone, nerve communication, and muscular responsiveness all at once. This changes how you interpret fatigue and performance loss. Before we go there, let me share a brief story. A man in his late 60s came in, worried that he was losing his edge. He hadn't changed his lifestyle dramatically. He still walked daily. He slept reasonably well, but his strength felt unreliable. His confidence was eroding quietly. When we looked deeper, the issue wasn't motivation or effort. It was consistency of foundational support. Once that was addressed, nothing dramatic happened. Nutrient number one for muscle strength overnight. But over weeks, his system stopped fighting itself. That's the pattern we see, not miracles, alignment. Here's a small early step you can take today. Hydration timing. Drink a full glass of water within 30 minutes of waking before coffee or food. This supports circulation signaling and kidney regulation early in the day. Simple, safe, often overlooked. Ask yourself this. Have you been assuming effort alone should carry you forward, or have you considered whether the system itself needs better daily inputs? We'll start unpacking the biology next, and when we do, you'll understand why. Strength after 60 is less about force and more about support. Let's slow this down and talk physiology, because this is where clarity replaces frustration. When men hear nutrients, they often think of vitamins as extras, something optional. But the body doesn't treat them that way. The body treats them as signals and building materials. Without them, systems don't communicate cleanly. Here's the basic chain. When the body receives the right nutrients, cells. How this nutrient works in the body produce energy efficiently. That energy allows nerves to fire with accuracy. Clear nerve signals allow blood vessels to respond and open when they're supposed to. When blood flow improves, muscles receive oxygen, tissues repair, hormones deliver their messages, and strength feels available again, not forced available. When one link in that chain weakens, the system compensates by tightening control. Blood vessels become less responsive, muscles fatigue faster. Recovery slows. Libido and arousal feel less predictable because circulation and nerve timing are off. Urinary urgency can increase because smooth muscle control changes. This isn't random, it's coordinated physiology. Have you ever noticed that when you're dehydrated, everything feels stiffer and slower? That's a small example of how inputs affect flow. Nutrients work the same way, just at a deeper level. Now, after 60, two things shift. First, absorption efficiency declines. The stomach produces less acid. The intestines transport minerals, less common mistakes men make effectively. Second, cellular demand increases. Aging cells require more support to produce the same output. So, you're dealing with less coming in and more being needed at the same time. This is why men can eat the same way they did for decades and suddenly feel different. The diet didn't change, the physiology did. Let's talk about the first category of nutrient support. Older men consistently fall short on minerals that regulate electrical signaling and vascular tone. These minerals don't give you energy in the stimulant sense. They allow energy to move. One of the most important roles minerals play is controlling how muscles relax after contraction. Blood vessels are muscles. The pelvic floor is muscle. The heart is muscle. When mineral balance is off, muscles tend to stay partially contracted. That increases pressure and reduces flow. Here's the physiology. When minerals like magnesium and potassium are sufficient, calcium moves in and out of muscle cells in a controlled rhythm. That rhythm allows contraction and relaxation to alternate nutrient number 2 for energy and vitality smoothly. When those minerals are low, calcium lingers, muscles tighten, and don't fully release. Blood vessels narrow, circulation becomes less adaptive. This matters for strength, endurance, and intimacy. An erection, for example, is not about force. It's about relaxation. Blood must be allowed in. When vessels can't relax fully, response becomes inconsistent. That's not a hormone failure. It's a signaling issue. In clinical practice, we see men who assume declining sexual function means testosterone is the primary problem. Sometimes hormones play a role, but often the foundation underneath hormone signaling is compromised first. The body can produce a signal, but the tissues can't receive it properly. Does that distinction make sense? Signal versus reception. Another piece most men don't connect is nerve health. Minerals support nerve insulation and firing speed. When nerve signals slow or scatter, coordination drops, grip strength feels weaker, balance feels slightly off, reaction time changes. These are subtle, but men feel them. Heart and circulation benefits. This is also why cramps, twitching, restless legs, or nighttime urination can increase. The nervous system is working harder to control muscles that aren't responding smoothly. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying everyone is deficient in the same way, but patterns are consistent. Modern diets are calorie-dense and mineral-poor. Processed foods displace whole foods. Coffee and alcohol increase mineral loss. Certain medications can reduce absorption. Over time, reserves drop. One patient I worked with described it well. He said, "It feels like my wiring is older than the rest of me." That was his nervous system asking for support. The second category we need to discuss is nutrients involved in cellular energy production. This is not about sugar or quick fuel. This is about the mitochondria, the structures inside your cells that convert nutrients into usable energy. Here's the physiology. Mitochondria take in oxygen and nutrients and produce ATP, the energy currency of the cell. That process requires specific coactors, including certain B vitamins and brain and mood effects, minerals. When those coactors are insufficient, energy production slows even if calories are adequate. The man experiences this as fatigue that doesn't fully resolve with rest. Motivation may still be present, but stamina isn't. Muscles burn sooner. Mental focus dips in the afternoon. Recovery stretches longer. Have you noticed that pattern? Sleeping enough, but not feeling restored. This is especially relevant after 60 because mitochondrial efficiency declines with age. The body needs more support to get the same output. Without it, the system shifts into conservation mode. It's not laziness, it's protection. The third biological piece, which we'll unpack more fully later, involves nitric oxide signaling. This is a molecule the body uses to tell blood vessels to relax. Nitric oxide production depends on specific nutrients and amino acids. When production drops, circulation responsiveness drops. This affects hands and feet feeling cold. It affects exercise tolerance. It affects erectile reliability. It affects blood pressure, food sources versus supplements regulation. And it affects how confident a man feels in his body's responsiveness. Here's the part most people don't connect. Nitric oxide is not a drug. It's a natural signal your body makes when conditions are right. If the raw material's there, the signal weakens. Now, I want to relieve a concern that often comes up. Supporting these systems does not mean replacing medical care or ignoring serious symptoms. Sudden chest pain, blood in the urine, severe weakness, or rapid changes always need professional evaluation. Lifestyle support works alongside care, not instead of it. But for the quiet, gradual changes most men describe, foundational nutrient alignment is often the missing step. Let me ask you something private. When you think about your strength and vitality right now, does it feel like the system is resisting you or supporting you? That question matters. In the next phase, we'll reframe what decline really means and talk about dignity and control. And I'll explain why restoring support doesn't require extreme diets, heavy dosage and safety tip supplementation, or chasing trends. It requires precision and patience. Stay with me. This is where anxiety starts to soften because understanding replaces guessing. Let's pause here because this is where many men feel an unexpected sense of relief. Once the biology makes sense, the story changes. What you've been calling decline is often a system that has gone quiet, not a system that has failed. Hear me clearly, gentlemen. Your body is not betraying you. It's conserving. When support drops, the nervous system shifts toward safety. Blood flow becomes cautious. Energy is rationed. Non-essential functions lose priority. That includes peak strength, sexual reliability, and fast recovery. Not because they're unimportant, but because the body is protecting the core. This reframing matters for dignity. You're not weak, you're adaptive. In clinical practice, when men understand this, something changes emotionally. The self-blame eases, the urgency softens, and with that, the system often becomes more responsive even before any changes, nutrient number 3, for longevity are made. Stress itself tightens vessels and disrupts signals. Calm restores rhythm. Have you noticed that symptoms often feel worse when you're worried about them? That's not in your hem. That's the nervous system adding another layer of tension. Here's the part most men don't connect. Confidence is not just psychological, it's physiological. When the body trusts that resources are available, it allows output. When it doesn't, it holds back. This is true for muscles, for circulation, and for intimacy. I want to close an earlier loop. Now, I mentioned that one small daily gap can create a cascade. That gap is not one magic nutrient, it's consistency. The male body after 60 responds best to steady, predictable support. Sporadic effort doesn't register. Daily alignment does. This is why men get frustrated with on and off strategies. A supplement here, a workout burst there. The system never feels safe enough to shift out of conservation mode. Think in terms of rhythm, not intensity. Let me offer another brief patient vignette. A man in his early 70s, what science really shows, told me he felt embarrassed that he planned his day around energy dips and bathroom access. He assumed this meant shrinking his life. Instead, we reframed it as feedback. His body was asking for smoother signaling and better flow over time as support became consistent. His confidence returned quietly, not bravado, stability. That timeline matters. We're talking weeks, not days. The body needs repeated proof before it recalibrates. Ask yourself this: have you been expecting instant confirmation that something is working? Or have you allowed space for the system to relearn trust? Another unresolved loop I want to acknowledge involves hormones. Many men assume testosterone is the master switch. Hormones matter, but they are messengers. If circulation, nerve health, and cellular energy are compromised, the message arrives late or distorted. Restoring the environment often improves how hormones function without forcing them. This changes how you interpret lab results and symptoms. Low normal numbers may feel different, who should be careful, depending on tissue responsiveness. That's a more nuanced conversation than most men are offered. Now, emotionally, this is where control returns. You don't need to fight your body, you need to support it. And support can be calm, methodical, and private. Let me ask you something quietly, which feels more accurate right now, that your body is done or that it's waiting. In the next phase, we'll move into practical alignment. Simple steps, clear sequencing, no extremes, no pressure, just a way to give your system what it's been missing so it can meet you halfway again. Stay with me. This is where understanding turns into steady progress. Now let's talk about practical alignment, because understanding without application doesn't restore confidence. This is where many men worry they'll be pushed into complicated routines or aggressive protocols. That's not what works best after 60. The body responds to simplicity done consistently. I want to bring us back to the title for a moment. 3 daily nutrients older men need for strength and vitality, not megadoses. Medical conditions to consider, not trends. Daily support that the body recognizes as safe and sufficient. The first is mineral balance, particularly magnesium-rich intake. Magnesium supports muscle relaxation, nerve, signaling, and vascular tone. When magnesium is consistently low, muscles stay tense, vessels resist opening, eye and the nervous system remain slightly on edge. That affects strength, sleep, quality, urinary comfort, and intimacy, confidence. Food first is always the starting point. Leafy greens, nuts, seeds, legumes. If supplementation is considered, it should be modest and well tolerated, taken in the evening when the body naturally shifts toward repair. More is not better. Consistency is the second nutrient. Category involves B vitamins that support cellular energy production. These nutrients don't stimulate, they enable. They allow mitochondria to convert oxygen and nutrients into usable energy without strain. When these are low, fatigue feels deep and stubborn. This is where men often say, "Don't feel tired. Best time to take these nutrients, don't have endurance." That distinction matters, supporting energy production. Improves stamina, mental clarity, and recovery without pushing the nervous system. Again, food first. Whole grains, eggs, fish, legumes. For some men, gentle supplementation earlier in the day supports energy without disrupting sleep. Timing matters. The third nutrient, which closes another loop we opened earlier, supports nitric oxide signaling. This is about circulation responsiveness. Nutrients like dietary nitrates and amino acids help the body produce nitric oxide naturally. When production improves, blood vessels relax when they're supposed to. Flow improves. Pressure normalizes, confidence follows. This is not about forcing an erection or chasing performance. It's about restoring responsiveness, the body's ability to adapt in the moment. Beets, arugula, spinach, citrus, and adequate protein all play a role. Chewing thoroughly, breathing calmly, and not rushing meals matter more than most men realize. Digestion is part of circulation. Now, let's talk sequencing real-life results in older men, because this is where safety and success meet. Start with hydration timing, which we already discussed. Then that mineral support, then energy support. Circulation support comes last. That order reduces side effects and allows the nervous system to stay calm. Layering everything at once often backfires. The body reads it as noise. Gentle steps read as trust. Movement matters too, but not intensity. Daily walking after meals improves glucose handling and circulation. Gentle strength work 2 to 3 times a week maintains muscle signaling. Pelvic floor awareness, not aggressive exercises, improves urinary and sexual comfort. Breathing is often overlooked. Slow nasal breathing stimulates nitric oxide production in the nasal passages and calms the nervous system. 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. Simple, effective. Let me ask you something practical. Does your daily routine signal safety and support or pressure and urgency? The body listens closely to that message. As we come to a close, I want to leave you with calm FAQs. Men over 60. Ask reassurance. Strength and vitality after 60 are not about reclaiming youth. They're about restoring function, reliability, trust in your body again. You don't need to do everything. You need to do the right things consistently. That's how the nervous system relaxes. That's how circulation improves. That's how energy becomes available instead of rationed. Let's summarize gently. Many symptoms men worry about are not isolated problems. They're coordinated responses to missing daily support. Mineral balance affects relaxation and flow. Cellular energy nutrients affect stamina and recovery. Circulation signaling nutrients affect responsiveness and confidence. When these are aligned, the body doesn't surge forward. It steadies itself, and that steadiness feels like strength. I want to close another unresolved loop. Earlier I said I'd reveal why one small daily gap creates a cascade. That gap is assuming the body will adapt forever without replenishment. It adapts, yes, but adaptation without support leads to simple daily routine conservation. Support allows expression. There's dignity in that understanding. If you're listening and thinking, this feels manageable, that's intentional. Sustainable change should feel calm. If something feels extreme, it usually is. A brief word on red flags: sudden severe weakness, chest pain, blood and urine. Rapid, unexplained weight loss or significant changes should always be evaluated by a qualified professional. Lifestyle support complements care. It does not replace it. I'll offer one reflective prompt here. As promised, take a moment today to notice one final advice from Dr. Malik pattern in your energy, circulation, or comfort. Just notice awareness itself begins alignment. If this style of calm, evidence-based education supports you, liking and subscribing helps keep this kind of content available for men who value privacy and clarity over noise. Gentlemen, your body is not done. It's communicating. When you listen and respond with steady support, it often responds in kind. This video is for informational purposes only and is not medical advice. Every person is different. If you have symptoms, concerns, or medical conditions, please speak with a qualified health professional.